What would you do if death had punished you your entire life by taking away people you cared for or anyone you had touched in your life? And as you got older, he decides to start punishing you in more adult and intimate ways, and say that isn't enough for him, and he decides to become a little bit more possessive of you, is a good way to put it. So I'm going to say my answer is kind of going to be skewed. I would say before I read this book, I'd be like, oh no, that's kind of creepy. But after reading this book and in relation to this book, I'm going to be like, he can have me. So I'm going to say first, you can answer in the comments and tell me what your answer is. But if you have read this book, then tell me what you think. If you haven't, then I need you to read this book and then come back and tell me what you think, because I think your answer will change based on this book. So I'm going to go from there. So in this book, Death, he's a stalker. Obviously, he's going to be a little bit on the creepy side. He does some little stuff. But I'm going to tell you right now, this book, even before I go any farther and tell you what you can expect in this book, I need you to check the trigger warnings. This one is going to be one you are definitely going to want to check the trigger warnings on, because it is a dark paranormal romance. The book is going to be called Deathtrap by Alexandra St. Pierre. And I did give it 5 stars and 5 on the spicy meter. Some of the things you can come to expect in this book are going to be bully, why choose. It is going to have DebCon and NonCon. It is going to have primal play. It is going to have kidnapping and some Stockholm going on as well. It's going to have angels. It is going to have demons. And it is going to have some stockings and gods and goddesses as well. I knew this book was going to be really good going in, even just within the first few pages. But I would not recommend this book to everyone, even everyday dark romance readers, just because of the unaliving ideations, as well as the way it touches on some of the more religious topics. Well, I know a lot of people will be okay with this topic. I do know a lot of people in my real life who do read this genre who I know absolutely would not be okay with this book, especially some that are devout Christians that I would absolutely not recommend this book to. Just remember, if you do decide to read this book, it is a really good book. But if you are unsure of the trigger warnings and you still decide to kind of power on ahead, your mental health matters. But it is still a really good book. This book is a longer book as well, but it is really complex and it is constantly building. So you easily get lost in the book and you really do not realize how actually long the book is. I think if you are really okay with these trigger warnings and really the religious aspects and stuff do not bother you, I definitely would add this one to your spooky season reads, because like I said, it really has a lot to do with the death and all that and him stalking. It is really good. And like I said, it is so spicy. Like, I absolutely adore this one. It's amazing. Like, it's so good, guys. It kind of left me speechless in a lot of it. Like, I have been raving about this one, but I am being very selective on who I recommend this one to, just because it's not just a dark romance, but because of some of the other topics that it touches on. So I'm trying to make that very clear to you guys, because I just don't want everyone to pick this one up. But yeah, I also want to scream from the rooftops how good this one actually is. So I do also want to give you guys a quick overview as well on this book, so you kind of know what also it's about. Everyone Lilith touches dies. She has spent her entire life running from the Grim Reaper as he watches her from the shadows. Death's obsession with Lilith reaches new heights after what she thought was a 4-year break after a mysterious death of her co-worker. He's back, and this time she's afraid there won't be any way to escape his clutches. You guys have already heard me say it. This book is amazing. I'm shouting it from the rooftops. I loved it. It's spooky season. It's got death. It's great. So I loved this one. If you think you can handle those trigger warnings, then check it out, because I loved it and I think you might too.